Thanks very much, Deborah, and welcome everyone to this session, Introduction to Dataverse. Thank you for joining today. I hope that you enjoy the session. Let's get started with my introduction. So my name is Rosie Djurovic. See, you were pretty close. I'm a business intelligence developer at Maxica Consulting. I am particularly passionate about the Power Platform and low code, no code. Lots of my experience has been focused around helping low data maturity teams make the best use of their data. So this has involved a lot of Excel and Power BI, but I'm now focused on the Power Platform. Since making that move to Power Platform, I have been overwhelmed by its capabilities, and I'm so excited about what it can offer. I think the potential for users who can start using Dataverse in their businesses is massive, and it's a fantastic way to get better control, insights, and power over your data. So a bit more about me. My hobbies are spending time with family and friends, running, cycling, open water swimming. And my motivation for running this session is that I am fully self-taught in everything data and BI. And I've learned everything that I know from watching videos on YouTube, reading conversations in Stack Overflow, and most importantly, liaising and being in touch with the Microsoft community. So when I heard about this opportunity, I thought that it was a really great chance for me to be able to give back to the amazing data and Power Platform communities that have helped me so much over the past few years. These are the links to my social media. Please be welcome to connect with me. I am always interested to learn what other people are working on and what you're interested in. So let's connect and share ideas. With that being said, let's have a look at the overview for today's session. So this session is going to be particularly useful for users working in low database maturity businesses who are looking to make better use of their data and take that first step into structured data organization. So today's session, we're going to have a look at what is the Dataverse and who should use it. We'll talk about what you need to get started, and then in the demo, we're going to have a look at the Power Platform Admin Center. We'll look at a standard database, and then we're going to migrate data from Excel into Dataverse. We'll have a look at how you can set up a security model, and we're going to round up by connecting in Power BI and Power Apps. And I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the session. So, Dataverse, what is the Dataverse? Now, as you can see, it is much more than just a database. It is a cloud-based low-code data service, and it is an API-first app platform. Dataverse powers the entire Power Platform, and it can be used as the central storage for all of your business data. Dataverse is an actionable platform, meaning that you can do more directly with your data from Dataverse. Now, whilst traditionally your database would require additional layers for data access, security, business logic, and then typically a presentation layer, this is all included as standard in the Dataverse, meaning your developers can just focus on data modeling and creating solutions. So having a look at the layers here, first up, we've got security. Now, this is handled by Azure Active Directory, And additionally to things like authentication and authorization, we're also going to look at how you can implement a security model later in the demo based on your business needs. Logic. Now, things like calculated fields and business rules can be applied at the data level in Dataverse. These are great features to ensure that the data that ends up with your reporting and low-code developer teams is clean and ready to use. Thirdly, of course, we have the database layer. Now, Dataverse is a relational database consisting of multiple tables made up of columns and rows. Because the layout of the data storage is similar to that of Excel tables, the learning curve for users from low database maturity businesses is not too steep. Additionally to your relational database within the storage, you do have file and blob storage, and you can even store images in Dataverse. You know that your data is secure because Dataverse is built on Azure SQL Server. And then the final layer, integration. Now, Dataverse is integrable with DevOps and GitHub to allow you to manage your application lifecycle management. And Power Apps are also now integrable with Visual Studio Code to allow pro code and low code developers to work together on solutions. Dataverse also integrates seamlessly with all of the Microsoft product family. So you can do things like populate a mail merge in Word, create an Excel document directly with your data. So who should use it? Well, everyone can use it. There is a really low barrier to entry in terms of the cost and knowledge base that is required to start using Dataverse. So you do not need a database architect or SQL engineer to get started using Dataverse. And it's also very quick to get started, as we will see in today's demo. It is especially useful for those users that are working in businesses with low database maturity. For example, if you are storing lots of data in something like Excel files or in SharePoint lists, then Dataverse is a great place for you to start increasing that maturity and making your data work better for your business. If you're using Power Platform in any way already, perhaps you have some Canvas apps, or you might be running some flows in Power Automate, then actually you are already using Dataverse. So what do you need to get started? Well, you will need a Power Apps license. I'm not going to go into too much detail on licensing today, but I will link to the relevant licensing page at the end of the presentation. Licensing requirements do vary based on your company's current licenses and your business requirements. But the really great thing about licensing in terms of Dataverse is that you can scale your capacity up and down as required by your business needs. And then secondly, I've put on here, low code, no code knowledge is optional. Now to get started and make use of the basic functionality of Power Platform, zero low code knowledge is required. However, for those users who are particularly savvy in Excel, Power Query, VBA, or perhaps you're coming from a Power BI background and you're comfortable using DAX or M, then you are going to be able to really easily pick up the Microsoft low-code language called PowerFX. This will enable you to really make the most out of the Power Platform and start creating some really cool solutions. But for getting started in Dataverse, no PowerFX or coding experience is necessary. So we're going to move over now into the demo. Okay, so as you can see, we have come straight into Power Platform Admin Center. Now this is the home of where you will view, create and manage your environments. You can manage your application lifecycle management across environments. So for me personally, I manage 3 main environments in my role: a development environment, a demo and testing environment, production environment. Another key part of application lifecycle management within Power Platform is solutions, which I will touch on later on. Within Power Platform Admin Center, you can also set up and manage your Dataverse security model, which I'm going to demo later on. And you can do things like review your capacity, monitor your performance of apps and flows, and also contact support and link to your other admin centers, so Microsoft 365 and Azure Active Directory. So we're going to go straight in and we're going to create a brand new environment with a Dataverse database. So we come into environments, we're going to click new, and we have the option here to set up our environment. So let's choose a name. We'll call it New Stars of Data is Awesome. We're going to set the region. So you can see that it's defaulted to the UK. What you want to do is you want to choose a region that is local to your users to ensure quicker data access. We can choose our environment type here. So there are 3 main types of environment. We've got trial, sandbox, and production. Use a trial environment to test out new ideas, or if you're wanting to trial Dataverse. There are 2 types of trial environment. This one here is for sole users who are wanting to practice or test a concept in Dataverse or Power Platform. And then this subscription-based trial is for companies that are looking to create a trial environment where multiple developers can come in and work on a concept solution. Use a production environment for when your solutions are ready to deploy, and a sandbox environment for development and testing. For today's demo, we're going to use a trial environment. So we can put in a purpose for the environment. So it's just a demo on New Stars of Data. And we have the option to create a database for this environment. We're going to select yes. You will need a license assigned that gives a minimum of 1 GB capacity to your admin center. So we can click next. We see that we can set the language. We can apply a custom domain here if we have one. We can set the currency for our reports. And then down here, we have deploy sample apps and data. Now, this is particularly useful if you're brand new to Power Platform and Dataverse and you want to experiment. We also have the option here to restrict the environment access to people in a specific security group. Now, we're not going to do that today, but what we are going to do is we're going to come back and have a look at security a little later on. So we will go ahead and click save, and then that's going to initiate in the background, but we've got one ready to go that I've just made this morning. So here is our environment. Once you've created your environment, you can check here if you did create a database for it. If you did, there will be a version number right here. So our environment is ready to go. We're going to move over now to make.powerapps.com. So you can see that I've selected our environment up here, New Stars of Data. And we can see up here that it's a trial environment. They do expire after 29 days. So if we want to keep it, we need to convert it to production. Here in make.powerapps.com, this is where we can build and manage our solutions. So we can build Canvas apps, model-driven apps, Power App portals. We can create flows in Power Automate, and we can also access Dataverse. Before we have a look in Dataverse, I just want to touch on this area at the bottom, which is called Solutions. So this is a great feature within Power Platform where you can package up your custom Dataverse tables, security roles, apps, flows, and transfer them across environments and even tenancies. This application lifecycle management is also fully integrable with DevOps and GitHub, as shown in the previous visual. For developers, you can also manage this application lifecycle management directly within Visual Studio Code using an extension that is called Power Platform Tools. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at our Dataverse. So as you can see, we have several different subheadings within Dataverse. Tables, which is what we're going to have a look at in detail today. Choices, this is where you can define standardized lists of values, which can then be used in your solutions. As you can see, there are some created as standard. Data flows, this is where we're going to come later to import our data into Dataverse. Azure Synapse link to connect to Azure Synapse Analytics. Connections, now there are hundreds of connectors available in Dataverse, allowing you to centralize your data operations within Power Platform and make use of all your business data. In case you can't find your connection there, you can also have the option to create custom connectors, meaning that you can connect to any existing REST API here. And then finally, we have gateways. These act as the bridge between your on-premise data and Dataverse. But today, we're going to be taking a detailed look at this tables section. Now, each Dataverse has a base set of tables included as standard that cover some typical scenarios, such as appointment, contact, and account. These standard tables also include some of your business data from Azure Active Directory, such as this user table. Also within the standard tables are business unit and team tables. These hold data about your security model, so it is important to become familiar with how these are related. In addition to the standard tables, you can also, of course, create custom tables that are specific to your organization. You can import your existing data into these tables, and we will be taking a look at that import process shortly in the form of a data flow. So in this overview page, we can see table name, what the table type is, whether it's a standard or it's an activity table, whether that table is managed or unmanaged. So a managed table are those that are preset by Dataverse or tables that have been imported as part of a managed solution. A note on solutions here is that I always prefer to export and import unmanaged solutions because it then allows you to make any minor changes that you may need. Managed solutions can be very restrictive because once they are packaged as managed, there is no way to then revert them to an unmanaged solution. We can also see here if that table is customizable and then any tags that it has applied to it. So let's take a look at one of our tables in detail, this account table. So when we click in, we can see straight away that our data is laid out in the familiar table structure that you might expect with rows and columns. If we have a look at the properties of that table, we can see the table name, a description of the table, what type it is, standard or activity, and the record ownership. The record ownership indicates who owns each row within the table. Is it owned by a user or team, or is it organization owned? This information feeds into the security model. We can also here create some rules for how that data is managed within the table, such as if we want to apply duplicate detection, and we can set if that table is going to be available for specific business activities, such as creating a mail merge, and is that data going to be searchable, for example. We can also have a look at what our primary column is here. And when using Power Automate, this schema name is the one you're going to need when referring to tables in your expressions. So we can make any changes to our table here and save them. Moving over to the schema details for our table, we can see that we have a list of columns. We can see what the data type is, whether it's a managed or unmanaged column, if that column is customizable, and if it's a required field, and also if it's searchable. Also within the schema, we can have a look at the relationships between this table and other tables in our database. There are three types of relationship: many to one, one to many, and many to many. And these relationships are predefined by Dataverse. Finally, within the schema, we have keys here. Now, this is if you have any alternate keys defined, they will be listed here. These are generally used to link to external data sources. Next up, we've got data experiences. Now, this is that actionable part of the data platform that I mentioned earlier. So you can find your solutions here that are related to that specific table. Some ready-made items already do exist here, and these are based on common business functions. For example, there is this account form here that is ready to be used. And then finally, we have customizations. This is part of the business logic layer, and it's where we can go in and create and manage things like business rules. Having a look now at one of our columns. So if we click in to edit column, we can see the column properties. We can see the display name for that column, description of it, what the data type is. We can change the format. We can see what the behavior is for that table, for that column. So is it simple, or is it a calculated column? Is it a roll-up or an aggregate column? And we can also apply some rules to the column. So we can set whether this is going to be a required field. We can apply the maximum character count or within here. We can also sort and filter our columns here within Dataverse in the familiar way that we are used to in Excel. And if we click in new up here, we can add new columns, we can define relationships, and we can create solutions like forms, charts, dashboards directly from your data here. Finally, within the table, you do also have the option to double click into rows of data and edit your data directly within Dataverse. If you do decide to do this, be very careful because there is no undo button here. So next up, we're going to import some data from Excel via a Dataflow. So let's have a look at our data in Excel. Here's our sales table. So we can see we've got a simple table with an order number, unit price, product ID, how many units, total sales, date of order, location of store, and who the salesperson is. Now let's go ahead and load that data into Dataverse via a Dataflow. So we're going to click New Dataflow. We're going to call it New Stars of Data. Woohoo! We'll click Create. We're going to choose our data source. And for this step, I'm just going to move my browser into the other window so that I can enter my credentials off screen. So I'm just dragging and dropping the Excel into the file uploader. It's asking me for my credentials and I'm just confirming them and click Next. Okay, straight away, we can see that our table has loaded here. So if we select our table, there we can see our sales table. We're going to click Transform Data. And we are taken into Power Query Editor. Now, for those of you who are experienced in Excel or Power BI, you will be very familiar with this screen. Here, we want to take a look at our data, check for any errors, check for data types, and apply our modeling here within Power Query Editor. So, most of our data types, they're looking good. I can just notice that unit price and sales, we're going to want them to be data type currency. So we can change them here. Let's apply the correct currency. So we're looking for English, United Kingdom. There it is. Click OK. And I think that's ready to go. So we can click Next. Okay, so we can see that that's ready. So we're going to name our table. Let's call it Sales New Stars of Data. We are going to load to a new table. And we have the option here to use an auto-generated primary key, or if you already have a key defined in your table, you can select that here. Now, the auto-generated primary key is always going to be called name. Do rename this if you need something more recognizable. We can check our destination column types here, and they're all looking good. So we can go ahead and click Next. Now here we have the option to set our refresh settings. So we have the choice between manual or automatic. If we go into automatic, we see that we can set the frequency for our required refresh here. And we also have the option, do we want to send a refresh failure notification to our Dataflow owner? For today, this is just going to be a one-time import. So we can select manual refresh, and we don't really need a failure notification. We'll go ahead and click Publish, and I'm going to now refer to one that I've just done this morning. When you click publish, that's going to continue to load in the background and it can take a few minutes. So going into our tables now, we can scroll down and there we can see we've got new stars of data sales. And that, as we can see, is our sales data. So there's our store location, that's our order numbers, and our sales and salesperson. So now, before connecting in Power BI and Power Apps, I want to talk you through setting up a security model in Power Platform. Now, security in Power Platform can be applied in several ways, depending on your business needs and the level of granularity that you're looking for. For example, earlier we saw that you can apply security groups to whole environments. However, for today's demo, we're going to take a look at setting up row-level security in Dataverse. Before setting up your security model in Power Platform, you will need to create an Azure Active Directory security group within your AD. So once you've got your security group, you're going to come back into Power Platform Admin Center. We're going to go to Settings, Users and Permissions. And the first thing to do is to create a new business unit for your group. So we want to create a brand new child business unit, and we're going to call it New Stars of Data Child. So we can save and close that. There we go. We can see that it's created straight away. Now we want to create a security role for that group. So going back into Admin Center, Users and Permissions, into Security Roles. And what you want to do is you want to copy your basic user role. We'll call it New Stars of Data and click Copy. That can take a while to load, so we're going to use one that I've already made. And here it is there. You then want to go in and edit your security role, keeping all of the basic functionality, but applying permissions on your custom tables. So we've come to custom tables. We can find our sales table, which is here. And we want to apply the business unit privilege level here, which is this middle one. So we can click Save and Close. We're now going to go back into Settings, and we're going to create a respective team for our Azure Active Directory security group. So we can see that a team has been created for our business unit. Let's now create a new team for our Azure Active Directory security group. So we'll call it New Stars of Data Team. We can put a description in there. Our business unit, we want to select our child business unit that we've just created. The administrator, that can be me. And our team type. And we are going to select Azure Active Directory security group. It will ask us for that Azure Active Directory security group name. There it is. And we can choose our membership type. So we can select whether it's just going to be members of our tenancy, whether it's going to be owners, just guests, or members and guests. We just want it for members, so we can click Members, click Next. And as you can see, we can now apply our security role to that team. Click New Stars of Data. And we've now applied our security role to that team. You can then go ahead and share your apps and flows with that Azure Active Directory security group. This security model setup applies team record ownership to each row in Dataverse, which means that users can only see data from users within their business unit and that respective AD security group. As mentioned, you can also apply security groups to environments and security roles to individual users if you're not taking this role-based approach. So now we're going to go over to Power BI and we're going to see how quick and easy it is to connect to Dataverse in Power BI. So here we go. We've got a brand new PBIX here. You can see that we've got no data. So we're going to click up here in Get Data with Dataverse. And you can see that all of our environments come straight in. So we can click on New Stars of Data, find our sales table. There it is. Click Load. And you can see that we have an option to set our query settings. Now, please note that the Dataverse security model is only going to carry through to Power BI when using direct query mode. So if you opt for import mode, you are going to need to replicate your row level security directly within Power BI. For today's demo, we can choose import, click OK. And we can see that that loads in pretty quick. There's our data. So let's create a simple visual here. We'll go for clustered column chart. And we're going to have a look. Who is our top salesperson? So as you can see, Harry Potter's absolutely smashing it. And then we've got James Dean, close second. And trailing at the end here, not doing very well, James Bond. So that's a quick demo to showcase how quick it is and how easy you can connect to Power BI, to Dataverse within Power BI. Now I want to show you just how easy it is to connect within Power Apps. So coming back over now to make.powerapps.com, you can click on New App, select a Canvas app, and we want to create a simple mobile app where users can order products. So let's call it New Stars of Data app today. Click Create. And the first thing we want to do is we want to connect to Dataverse. So here, this is our data icon. We can click on that. We're going to add data. And straight away, you can see our Dataverse tables. If you've got Dataverse set up, that is always going to be the first thing that you see here. And we can see straight away, there is our sales table. Wonderful. So we're going to click on that. And what do we want to do? Well, I think we're going to add a new form. Let's connect to data. We're going to choose our sales table. And let's see which fields we would like to bring in. So I think we're going to need our product ID, our unit price. We'll let users choose how many units they want. And then we'll see what the total sales is for that. So just select your required fields straight away, it pulls them in. We can get rid of our unwanted fields here. So first of all, we have product ID. Well, I think we'll let users choose from a drop-down. So let's get rid of that value. We can add a drop-down in here. Let's make this a little bigger. pull that down. And in our items property, we just want a list from our new styles of data sales table of the product IDs. Perfect, that's what we're expecting. So what's this? This is just setting the height. We can get rid of this error. And then we are going to need to edit our update property. Okay, so at the moment, the update property is set for that text value box, which we've just got rid of. We're going to update based on the value of this drop-down box. Drop-down, selected, result. There we go. Okay, so unit price. So I think we're going to let Dataverse do the work here. So in the default property, we want to look up our sales table. And we're going to ask it to pull in the unit price where the product ID matches that drop-down number. And what are we looking for? We're looking for unit price. There we go. So there we can see the unit price for product 212 is £139.53. And then total sales. Okay, so we can let Power Apps do the work here. So that's just going to be our unit price, which is data card value 4. There we go. Times our number of units, data card value 5. Perfect, there we go. Okay, so this is going to be a new form. So we can set the mode here, form mode.new. And we're going to need a button in here. And let's put a call to action on there. Let's put a big buy now. Okay, we're going to need some action on the onSelect property. And we just want it to submit the form. It is form 1. And we always want it to reset that form. Okay, no errors, that's all looking good. So I think we can go in and play the app. Okay, so I think I'm going to buy product 236. Oh, that's £439.41. I think I'll have 8 of them. Total sales, £3,515.28. Okay, we can click buy now. Okay, that's good to go. So that order has now been sent directly to Dataverse, which can then be processed through a UI created in Power Apps, or it can be sent as sales data to be analysed in Power BI. Let's just have a look at that row in Power Apps. So coming back to our tables, find our sales table. Come to the bottom here, and there we go. There's my order. That's the one, total sales, £3,515.28. So that's the end of the demo. I'm just going to switch back over now to PowerPoint to finish up the session. So these are some useful links and resources so that you can continue your learning in Dataverse and the Power Platform. In particular, I am a really big fan of Reza Durrani and Pragmatic Works videos, but Overall, the Power Platform community is absolutely the best place to go with any questions that you might have. If maybe you're stuck whilst developing a solution, you need some help with some code, or even if you just want to go in and get some ideas of what is possible within Power Platform and the Dataverse, I absolutely would urge you to go and check out the Power Platform community. They are super friendly and incredibly helpful. Please also do be welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. If I can answer any question that you might have, I will. And if not, then I'd be more than happy to point you in the direction of someone else that can help. That is the end of today's session. I would like to thank the New Stars of Data team for this opportunity. And in particular, I would like to thank Jess, my mentor, for supporting me through this process. Thank you for attending the session. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.